feel guilty when you squash a bot. And I think that means something. I just think that really means something.
Called in.
Hey,
hi. Hello.
Wow, that was confusing.
Well, I want the one from put like some headphones on so I can hear. Hold on a second. Okay.
Hello. Yes.
Hey. Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Perfect.
So how are you tonight?
I'm good. I just got back from dinner. It was awesome. I ate a whole bunch of ice cream. It was great.
I did too.
I want ice cream.
I went to a dinner restaurant that only serves ice cream. It's not like an ice cream. It's not an ice cream store. It's actually just like a restaurant where you sit down like you're eating at a regular restaurant and then you just have ice cream.
I love
that
ice cream.
Sounds lovely.
Like it's like formal. People go there like in suits and stuff. No. It's called Millionaire Milkshake.
So does it cost $1 million?
No. I don't know why they call it that. I guess the guy that started the company was a millionaire or something.
That's about as good as fuck you burger.
Yeah, fuck you burger. I think it's right street. I think it's called poo burger. I think it's poo.
I don't care. It's fuck you burger.
Yeah, it is. It is fuck you burger.
All right, so we'll get started here.
Hey, was that Apex Predator playing when I called in?
Yes.
That's awesome. But,
yes. All right. So, I shall go first. How was your experience playing Coachella?
How was what?
Your experience playing Coachella.
It was good. Before I answer that question, are you guys able to like record this interview? Because so that way.
It's already recording.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Even better. Coachella was a lot of fun. It was actually a really, really, really stressful weekend. Aside from the few fun parts about it, it was mostly stressful because because we got to Coachella, we got there on the first weekend on Friday night, and literally I was super fucked up, and I was with my friend Tom. If you don't know who Tom is, his name's Thomas Zen. He's the one that shoots in all my film and photos with me. I mean, he's the only person that's ever taken a photo of me, actually, that we the apocalypse. And me and him went together, and we didn't remember where we parked our car. And there's like 50 parking lots at Coachella, so we literally walked around for like a whole day. I almost missed my set too. We walked around looking for where we parked our car, and I guess we ended up walking by it twice. And I didn't remember that I took a video of us pulling into Coachella on the way in. We could have just referenced the video, but we didn't find our car until like the last day. But Coachella was pretty interesting. I wasn't even scheduled to play. I had wristbands, I had VIP to go there with some friends, and I got there, brought all my shit with me, and because I have a really good tour manager that knows how to like make shit happen, like we talked to the right people when we got there, and I got scheduled a 30-minute slot on the Sahara stage, which is the biggest like the EDM dance stage. It's really, really huge. It's probably about 10,000 people in the crowd when I played. And then I ended up playing a silent rave, and it was the first time there was ever a DJ playing music at Coachella when the sun was coming up, because they usually shut down the music at like 4 on the campsite, and but they kept it all open. They kept it going until like 7 a.m. So that was fun.
Yay.
And Coachella, other than that, was like
It's like a very lucky experience.
Yeah, it was cool. I made a lot of really cool like contacts there, and there was just a lot of hot girls there. And every time like me and my friend were excited about that, it ends up backfiring because I ended up being like we ended up being so awkward, and like you're just like hot, and like you feel like we taking a bunch of Molly, so we were just kind of like it's hard to communicate with people.
Yeah.
And that was Coachella, yeah. Next year is going to be a lot better though. It's going to be it'll be a lot. I'm going to play next year too, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's cool. Okay. What are you working on right now?
Shit. A lot of different stuff. Let me see, I'll get on the list. I'm actually co-writing. I'm co-writing when he's on tour right now, but whenever Trace Cyrus, I was recently I became friends with Trace, from Metro Station, and which is Miley's brother. Now he has a new project, Ashland High, and I met him a few weeks ago, and I was in this video for his new video for Overload, and he actually him and I are going to be co-writing. I'm going to do some hip hop dubstep stuff with him when he's back from tour with Fred the Sickest Kid. I just signed yesterday to Arbor Records, which is Trace's label, the same label Trace is on, and Billy Ray, so I signed the Arbor Records Subtronics, which is a new huge dubstep label. They launched Adventure Club and a few other really big dubstep artists. So I'm co-writing some stuff with this new kid. He's from Jamaica. He's a white kid, and he's Jamaican. He's amazing. He just came here from Jamaica, and he's this really dope like dubstep reggae that's just like insane. I'm doing that. I'm working on a Johnny Clegg remix of I Still Feel Her Part 3, which I've been working on for like a month or two now, off and on. I just haven't been working on it a lot. I try to work on it when when Johnny's around, and he's been rather busy. I'll play a show with Johnny like every like month or so when he's in town. He ends up asking me to come play. So I do that. I might do an Icy Stars remix. I was offered one by Sumerian Records, and we haven't really finished closing the can on that. I recently went under new management with Joey Simran, and he manages Escape the Fate. He manages Get Scared or Blacklist Me. He manages Architects, Attack Attack. A really amazing dubstep producer from LA named Schoolboy, who is the one that taught Skrillex pretty much most of what he knows. And then Tech One too, who was on the Bring Me the Horizon cut up record. So Joey just started managing me about a month and a half ago. So I have a lot of new cool projects coming up involved with some of those artists. Let's see. I just did a new song on the new Escape the Fate record that's coming out. It's either going to be on Escape the Fate or Dead Rabbits, but I just did a song. I just did all the electronic dubstep on a new song called let's see if I can tell you what it's called. But it's actually it came out really good. I'm working on a new Asking Alexandria remix for a new song. It's going to be on their third record coming out. And then I'm working on my EP as well, off and on. So I'm constantly working on I obviously probably 10 songs at a time usually.
All right. So back to Coachella. Were you able to see any of the Coachella performances? If so, which was your favorite?
Refused was obviously my favorite. Refused was like my favorite band, and it's the first time I've ever seen them, and I've been listening to them since 1997. And they've been broken up since 1997, and they were one of the headliners. Probably Refused and Kanye West. Not Kanye. Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg set was pretty dope. And Porter Robinson was great. Let's see, Feed Me, and Feed Me was the other artist I got to see that I really liked. EDC, there's a lot better like artists that I liked at EDC this year than I did at Coachella.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What can fans expect to hear from your new EP?
Well, the weird thing is I've really produced already like 4 EPs. I've constantly, like, in the past year and a half since I started doing this, I've continued to kind of get my production quality gets better, and like songs I'm writing get better. I feel like I've been growing as a producer every time I do a track, and I kind of can break it down into like little seasons. Like 4 months ago, I was kind of like at a certain level, and then 4 months later now, I feel like I've finally kind of gotten to a point where my production is as tight, or tighter than like biggest DJs in the world. Like I've sat down with like a sound spectral, which kind of measures the audio, and I compare like my stuff to like the levels of Skrillex or like Night Party or Kill the Noise, and my production quality is tight. It was hard for me to ever release something on a serious level unless it was it has to at least sound as good as like the best-selling stuff in the world or better. So the new EP is going to be a really, really very diverse like piece of work that's a lot of different styles of electronic music. I really kind of am taking a lot of the elements of things I grew up listening to and putting them all into this EP. And it's going to be a lot heavier than anything else I've ever done. I think for dance music, it's going to be probably some of the heaviest stuff that's ever came out. And it's not gonna. If you see some DJs like Big Chocolate or Borgor who have released dubstep, they've released it to like the indie and rock and metal scene, and they've kept it in that scene. Like people in dubstep, like people that go to EDC and dance music aren't like huge followers of Big Chocolate or Borgor. And that's just because a lot of the stuff they produce is really hard for people to dance to. Like kids still have to be able to go into a rave or to a big festival and dance to the music you're playing, and then you have to find a way to make it heavy at the same time. So I found a way that I've never heard anybody really do this before, and found a way to make it really, really heavy, but still make it dance and make it pretty, and then make it really like crazy and scary sounding and very orchestrated. It's going to be like a very modernized version of like Nine Inch Nails meets like Manson meets like it's kind of Skrillex-y but a lot heavier. And then it's going to have a lot of really pretty other epic stuff that I don't think anyone's ever really heard before. I've been Clayton Ryan from Natural Born Killers has been engineering some of the album with me. Meaning he's been he'll go because he's a really, really good friend of mine, and so he's been going in and then kind of helping with bring some of the rock element like into the dance music thing, because me and him are completely opposite when it comes to producing. So he's very, very precise and like straight like rock and rock influence, and whereas I'm a little bit more ADD and I'm a little bit more like experimental and try and do something no one's ever done. So it's a good contrast of artists working together.
Yeah.
So,
this is such a small world.
Yeah, it is.
I know Clayton too. So.
And a lot of people don't know that like he plays a major part in the reason why I've had any success at all. He's the one that actually introduced me to DJ Lethal from Limp Bizkit, 6 months ago, and in turn, even though I'm not really working with Lethal anymore, Lethal in turn introduced me to a lot of other people, that have helped me kind of find a way to do this. This project would have probably been already growing a hell of a lot faster months ago if I had wanted to just sloppily release it and but it's right now it's taken a year or, at least of work every day of carefully designing all the concept of everything and artwork and videos and music and because in order for this to surpass and not it's the point, but to surpass the likes of big DJs like Skrillex or to be that big, it takes a big team doing a lot of work. So it's better for kids to hear something the first time and just be addicted to it and just be hooked on it and just be wow, this is shit. Than to put out stuff that's mediocre and then kids over time begin to build it begin to gain interest or a like for the project. You know what I mean? Because the dubstep is a little bit different than rock music. The labels and blogs and forums and stuff on YouTube and channels can get a DJ producer big within a week. There's a channel called UKF Dubstep, and it's on YouTube. If you go to it, they have 700 million views on the channel, and they have about 1,500,000 subscribers. And anyone that puts out a legitimate song, any new DJs coming out, their UKF will put their song on there. And if you kind of think about that for a second, that means that the second one song goes on there, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 people are going to hear it right away. And once 100,000 people hear your music, then that keeps just circulating and spreading, and that's why DJs can get so big so fast and not even tour at all. You don't even have to tour, and you can be huge around the world. Very soon, in the very near future, we're going to launch that kind of campaign. The label that I'm with is putting a lot of money into merchandising for me because there's not a lot of DJs that have done merchandising. It's not like bands on Warped Tour where you see they all have merch booths and they have tons of shirts and all kind of cool shit. They don't. DJs and producers don't really do that yet. Even Skrillex only has 1 or 2 T-shirts on tour. And the reason they don't do it yet is because they don't see a reason to commercialize the genre, and and DJ producers make a significant amount of money compared to rock bands. A band like Avenged Sevenfold, let's say they did a headlining tour, they would go on tour and make maybe $5,000 guarantee a night, maybe a little bit more. Whereas someone like Skrillex goes on tour and he makes no less than $30,000 to $40,000 a night. He sometimes makes up to $100,000 a show, and he plays 325 shows a year. And that's just from the guarantees off of his live performance. That's not including all the record sales and merch and all this other shit that he sells,
Yeah. Speaking of Skrillex, what's it like working with him?
Well, I haven't worked with Sonny in the past, year and a half. It was about a year and a half. That was about 2 years ago, or maybe a little bit last year, a year and a half ago. Right around the time I started We Are the Apocalypse, I was living with Jay Gordon. That's who taught me to produce dance music. And I was learning from Sonny and from Jay right around the same time. Sonny was teaching Jay and coming to our house every day, and I was in turn learning stuff here and there, passed down and stuff in Ableton. Now, I've obviously kept in contact, but it's pretty much impossible to work nowadays to work with Sonny. But from what I remember, from the times that I did, it was actually very intimidating because he knows so much about doing it. A lot of people don't really realize, especially people that don't produce dance music or dubstep, they really have no idea whatsoever how complicated and how it's an entire different world of making music. And I see a lot of people online that make comments. They're like, "Yo, if you don't play guitar and all you do is make music on your computers, and that's not talent. That's not musical talent." Well, the real truth is you have to have in order to produce dubstep, to produce electro, house, any of this music, you actually have to have a hell of a lot bigger understanding of music and what you're doing than any other type of musician in the world. Because it's you have to know everything about every kind of music, and you have to have a background in music, and you have to know a lot about computers. And even then, to produce this, you have to spend 10 to 15 hours a day working on it, every day. So I get kind of heated when people like don't like dubstep and they like metal and they're like, oh, well, that's not really music. They're not really playing music, and that's complete bullshit, because those people just wouldn't be able. They wouldn't. It would take them years to learn how to do it, and I think in the future, in this very near future, people will start really recognizing that about electronic music, because I mean, electronic music DJs, producers are like the new rock stars. It's like it's going to be around for a long time. It's the most healthy thing to happen to music in 20 years, you know?
Yeah, it's original.
Yeah, it is. And the kids and the shows are much better. There's not this like judgmental like competition between people that's you don't see artists that are untalented playing festivals like EDC. It's not like when you see like Millionaires or like a lot of these like bands that are just like, they're not musically talented. They're barely big off their music. They're big for every other reason but their music. And you just don't see that shit in dance music. Everybody's extremely talented. And it's not a judge, and everybody's friends. That's the cool thing. Like it's the way it was the mentality of the way the punk scene was when it started, with people not judging other people, minus all the like negativity and the violence that came along with it, which is what destroyed metal, which is what destroyed rock music and metal, and you know, is the reason why every year Warped Tour has continued to become a lower budget production and a lower attendance rate. And it's going to continue to be that way because there's no good bands coming out anymore. There's no metal bands or even rock bands that are new, that are coming out, that are doing anything different, you know?
All right.
I don't know. My Warped Tour day was pretty full.
Yeah, but I've been going to Warped Tour for like 10 years, and it's like 7 years ago, Warped Tour was 3 times as many people there, you know?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It is kind of dying, but I still love it.
And the bands, they always used to book a really big headliner, you know, and they don't really do that anymore.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Is it more difficult to remix a current song or to create a new one from scratch?
Well, it really depends. I would say, and I mean, honestly, in most cases, to remix a song sometimes, because what I do when I remix songs is the artist, depending on like how it's you know, the deal is negotiated, but you know, they send me the stems. They send me what's called stems. Stems are like every single element of the song broken down into a different file. So I'll get like a folder that has like 13 tracks in it. And one track is bass, one track is vocals, one track is backing vocals, one track is snare, kick, cymbals, whatever, every other sound in the song. And what I do is I can either, the idea behind doing a remix, and mostly in my genre, in dubstep at least, the idea is to take just the vocals and then create a whole new song that's going to completely, like, you know, change the way someone listens to that track. When rap artists or hip-hop people do remixes, they really don't do anything different to change it. They change some of the bass in it, and then they add like a rap verse. So when you hear a remix by like Skrillex or Night Party or Kill the Noise or someone, it's usually they've taken it and they've remade the whole track. So I think because you can go so many different ways with it, it's kind of hard. It's harder to produce a remix. I would say that when it comes to electronic music, it varies with genre to genre, like how hard a track is to make. Like, for instance, house music, electro house is really simple sounding, but it's a very, very, very massive amount of layering of sound. So to do an electro, like, house track is sometimes harder than dubstep. Dubstep is pretty easy, for me at least, because it's kind of the same formula as rock and metal. So I apply that kind of like I have that mindset when I go into the track, you know, as opposed to a remix. So, yeah.
All right. Do you have any tour plans within the near future?
I do. Well, when I was just on tour a couple of months ago, to New England, and I did EDC New York, and I went to Maine and did a few sold out shows there. I plan on going back and doing the East Coast, but I'm not going to be touring for the next 6 months. The next 6 months I'm going to be in LA. I'm going to be producing and releasing this EP. I'm going to be playing shows all over LA, but I'm going to be working with my label to push my merchandising and do it. And then right around the end of that 6 month period, I'm going to be going on tour for about 18 months probably. So we're looking at like an 18-month schedule where I'll go and I'll do Australia, we'll go to Spain, do Europe, and go to probably South America, and Canada, and in the U.S. too. It's a little different when you're with DJs than it is bands. DJs, you tend to fly around a lot more. So like, let's say I was on tour, I could have a show in Washington tomorrow, and then the next day on the tour might be Tennessee. So you fly. When you're in the U.S., you're always either on a bus or you're flying, and then it's the same when you're overseas too. So because DJs can pretty much play every day of the week, like it's not rock shows don't do well on like Mondays or Tuesdays, but there's clubs open everywhere in the world on Mondays and Tuesdays where there's DJs coming and playing.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have 10 minutes left, so I'm going to wrap this up with what is your advice to someone who is thinking about joining the music industry?
My advice is study the different types of music industries there are. For people that are joining dance music and want to produce dubstep, my advice is like, do it now, like, because right now it's like the music industry is completely changing because of dance music. All these guys that run these big labels and major labels, and like they're literally losing their jobs, or they're literally being like dumbfounded by the fact that there's a young DJs coming in and kind of changing the game. If you're in rock and metal, if you're doing rock and you're doing metal nowadays, my best advice to you, even though I really don't encourage people to get into the rock and metal industry nowadays, just because there's not a lot of hope for it's not a great. You can't really pave yourself a long-term career in rock and metal right now. You'd have to do something that is so different and so unlike anything else that's ever been done, and you'd have to have money to do it, and you'd have to be in an area where you can get your name big. But there's also a lot of room in dance music right now for rock and metal. So I encourage kids that are interested in that to try to bring metal and rock into like the electronic industry. That's what I'm doing. That's probably one of the smartest things a musician right now can do that likes both types of music. And my advice is to study the business, and don't study like alternative press or like pure like Reverb Nation or what all these other bands are doing. Like study like the internet, the business, like understand electronic music and like those kind of things, because right nowadays everything's about marketing. It's not about necessarily your music anymore. Your music should be good, but you have to be a business person and you have to be a musician nowadays, and that's just the truth. So my advice is to never fuck your friends over either, because that's your biggest support is the people you know and you hang out with, and you want their support forever. No.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. And
absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me. I'm really stoked. Let's do it again too.
All right. You have a good night.
All right, y'all too.
Bye.
Bye.